Hi there! Welcome to AA Running. In today's video, Alex is going to show you how to train for a sub 36 10K.
In today's video, I'll be talking you through a training block I put together in the beginning of 2020 that resulted in a sub 36 minute 10K. So this is just one example of how to structure your training for the 10K distance. It's just meant to give you an example, show you how I put together a training block. The first thing you need to do is pick your goal race and then figure out how many weeks you have to train. And so for this particular training cycle, I had 15 weeks to train. All right, let's get into some of the workout components. So the first type of workout I incorporated into my training is what's called a marathon pace tempo. So if you look at the Jack Daniel's VDOT calculator, I'll put a link in the description below, that's the M pace. So it's about, if you take your 3K or 5K pace, it's about 1 minute per mile slower. So for me, this was somewhere between 6:20 and 6:30 per mile. All right, let's look at the schedule. So the first thing you're gonna notice is I have 2 hard days per week, and that's just a personal preference. For me, I know that I struggle to stay healthy when I have more than 2 hard days per week. So 2 hard days per week is a good max for me. You can see that I include the longest run of the week as one of those hard days because that's a hard effort. When you're only doing 30 miles a week, 7 miles is a pretty big run. All right, and so for the marathon pace tempo, the way I progressed this is I started off with a 3-mile tempo, and then I increased the distance over the course of the first 4 weeks of the training block. And so by the 4th week, I was doing 6 miles at marathon pace. The next type of workout I included into this training plan is a threshold tempo. And so a threshold pace tempo, if you look at the Jack Daniel's VDOT calculator, this is the T pace. It's the speed that you can run for about 1 hour in a race. It's the pace where your body is producing lactate at the same rate that it's able to clear it. And so this is a really important training pace for the 10K distance in particular. It's slower than 10K pace, but it's a really good, it's really close. It's really close for most people. It's relatively close. So let's look at the way I schedule the threshold tempos. I included the threshold tempo in not all the weeks remaining, but in most of the weeks remaining. I started off with a 4-mile threshold tempo, and then I progressed over the course of the next few weeks up until week 12, where I was able to do 7 miles at that threshold effort. And so this ended up being 7 miles at 6:13 pace. This was my longest tempo of the training plan. And you can see that this comes in week 12, which is 3 weeks before my goal 10K time trial. And so you can see the last tempo I did here was just a 4-mile kind of easier tempo 1 week before the time trial. Because 1 week away from your goal race, most of the work is already done. You just don't want to overdo it at that point. All right, the next 2 workout components are faster pace running than the previous 2. So the next 2 components are what are called critical velocity intervals, which for me is basically 10K pace. So this was running at my goal pace for the 10K race. And then running economy repeats. Running economy repeats were, for me in this training cycle, these are really short repeats. I actually only did 200s, and these are run at mile pace. So very fast running, lots of recovery, just meant to stimulate the neuromuscular system and generate a lot of turnover. And so I actually built these workouts together. So I would do some repeats at critical velocity, and then in the same session I would then do some shorter 200s at mile pace. So let's take a look. So I started the critical velocity and running economy training in week 7. where I did 5 times 1,000 meters. I averaged 327, which is actually a little bit faster than what I was hoping to run. I was aiming for a 35-minute 10K, which is 330, and I ended up averaging 327 here. And then I did 4 200s in 35 seconds. So the rest for the 1,000 meter repeats was 90 seconds, and the rest for the 200 meters was a 200 meter jog. And so then what I did is I basically went from 5 times 1,000, and I just increased the workout volume. A week later, I did 6 times 1,000, and then I had one more CV workout in week 12, where I did 6 times 1,000, this time a little bit faster, 327. And then finally, the last workout of this training block was in week 15, 4 days before my goal race. I just did 4 times 800 meters at my goal 10K pace for that 10K time trial. And this was with a 400 meter jog recovery, really light, what's called a tune-up workout. One quick note before I move on, if you see any of these blocks that are blank, that just meant that day had just an easy run, a recovery run, or perhaps a day off. All right, the next most intense workout component I included were some 5K races or time trials. So I think it's really important to include some tune-up races in your training block. And the tune-up race should be shorter in distance than your goal race. So running these 5Ks all out helped me a lot in terms of feeling like 10K pace is more manageable, is easier. The 10K felt slower because I was used to running the faster race, the 5K. And so I did 2 5K tune-ups. The first one was a race on the track in a track meet. I ran 17:16 for 5,000 meters in week 10. And then the second race I did was just a solo time trial in week 13, where I ran 6 seconds faster. So I was really happy because I showed progress from week 10 to week 13. That showed me that I was on the right track. All right, so at this point, the training plan is almost complete. It's got, I could just fill out the rest of it with some more threshold workouts or more critical velocity workouts. But I like to do a workout that's a little bit tougher. And so these are called alternations. So what an alternation is basically like a hard tempo run, but you're alternating between a faster pace and a slower pace. And so the way I would build these is I would alternate between slow 400s and fast 400s. So it's all continuous. I'd run a lap fast and then slow down, but not by much. And so the way I set my paces is I took my goal pace for my 10K. So for a sub 36 minute 10K, that's about 86 seconds per lap. And then I tried to alternate between 5 seconds faster and 5 seconds slower. So I was alternating between 81 second 400s and 91 second 400s. So let's take a look. I did my first alternation in week 11, and so I waited. I didn't introduce the alternations until I was already comfortable with threshold pace, and I already run a 5K race. I was already comfortable running faster than 10K pace. And so in that first alternating 400s workout, I ran 3,200 meters, and I averaged 79.7 for the fast 400s and 94.1 for the slow 400s. And so this workout really helps you learn how to change pace during a race, so you can throw in surges. And it also just gets you in really good shape because you're averaging a pretty fast pace. This was basically 2 miles at 10K pace. That's a pretty hard run. I followed that up and I progressed by increasing the distance. In week 13, I did a 4,000 meter workout. So basically 10 400s, and I averaged 95.1 for the slow 400 and then 78.1 for the fast 400. And then my last really hard workout of the training cycle was 10 days before your peak race. So you want to include your last hard workout somewhere between 7 and 14 days before your last peak race. 10 days is about the average there, because that's the amount of time it takes for your body to recover from that workout and adapt, and you reap the benefits from that workout. If I do a hard workout 3 days before my goal race, I'm not going to get the benefits of that hard workout until after my goal race. So this Thursday, 10 days before my 10K time trial, was my last chance to get a big improvement in fitness from any single workout. And so the workout I did it's called a Michigan. Basically, it's a ladder. I did 1,600 meters hard, 1,200, 800, and 400. So 16, 12, 8, 4. And then the rest in between each of those intervals is a 1,600 meter tempo. So 1,600 meters, and I was trying to run threshold pace for that recovery section. So it's all continuous. I ended up covering the about 5.5 miles of the workout in 32:59. So just basically about 6-minute pace. I only averaged about threshold pace for that workout, and it was just a really hard workout, and a good one for the 10K, because you're running a really hard effort for, about the same amount of time that you're going to be racing the 10K. All right, so that's my training. That's my training for the sub 36-minute 10K. Let's summarize it, and let me show you how the race turned out. All right, so in summary, I started off with 4 miles of like a base phase where I just built up my weekly mileage total, starting off from 25 miles per week, building up towards a max mileage of 40 miles a week, and I did 1 marathon pace tempo per week. I then started to incorporate, once I reached my peak volume, in weeks 5 through 8, I started to incorporate threshold tempos, so threshold paced running. And I started off with 4 miles, and then I progressed the distance from there. Week 7, I started running at goal pace, at goal 10K pace, and I started doing some faster 200s. Week 10, 6 weeks before my goal time trial, I did my first time trial of 5K in 17:16, so that's half the distance. And then a week later, I added the alternating workout. So basically week 10 through week 14 were my really hard weeks, right? So you don't want to hold like max intensity for more than about 4 weeks. So that was like my 4-week like mega block, if you will. And then finally, the goal 10K. Sunday, the last day of the 15-week training cycle, I ended up running 35:47 for 10K solo by myself on the track. So there you have it, a sub 36-minute 10K training plan. I hope you enjoyed it. Please comment down below if you have any questions about how I put this plan together, why I chose to include the workouts that I did, and why I didn't do something else. And also comment down below if you have any questions about what you should do, for when you're training for a 10K. All right, thanks so much.
Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out.
Run energized.